Hey guys, had a question today from one of my new clients that kind of inspired me to put together a little bit of video blog post about it. Basically about training intensity when we're talking about strength training. His question to me was, how do you know when it's time to go up in weight safely, increase a weight or increase repetitions? What's the best pattern to do that in? Obviously, progressive overload is a major concept in building muscle mass and hypertrophy. You've got to continually increase the load either to a heavier weight or doing more repetitions to force the body to adapt. If you do the same exercises over and over again, I call that Einstein's definition of exercise insanity, doing the same thing over and over again expecting a different result. If you simply pick up a pair of 15-pound dumbbells and do 15 repetitions with it and do that exercise week after week, your body's going to adapt until it can accommodate that load, and then there's no reason for it to adapt anymore. So you have to either increase the number of repetitions that you're doing with the weight or increase the weight that you're training with, or both. But we never do it at the same time. My general training plan for most of my clients being in the 45 to 65-year-old age range is a little bit higher repetitions than most of the textbooks recommend, which is kind of that 6 to 10 or 6 to 12 repetition range, because my clients tend to have a little bit more mileage on the joints, have a little bit more issues with joint pain and joint injuries. I tend to train people more along in the lines of the 10 to 18, even 10 to 20 repetition range, simply because a little bit less weight is going to do a little bit less damage to the joints. And that's the range we tend to keep it in. If I've got a client in the 20s and 30s, then I'll push the repetitions down and load it up a little bit. General principles. If you're training with heavy weights and low repetitions, meaning a weight that's heavy enough that you can only do 4 or 5, maybe 6 repetitions with it, that's going to help you increase strength. The body adapts to the demands you put on it. The heavier the load, it's going to increase their strength. Higher repetitions with lighter weights is going to force your body to adapt in muscular endurance, which means you're going to improve your ability to do more and more repetitions. So basically, what you demand of your body is what you're going to get back. You're not going to get stronger from lifting light weights and high reps. You're not going to get greater muscular endurance from heavier weights and low reps. Hypertrophy, building muscle, is somewhere in between. You can build more muscle mass using light weights and high repetitions. You can build more muscle mass using heavier weights and low repetitions. But what we found through practice and through science through the years is that middle repetition range and that middle weight range is probably optimal for building mass. What I have my clients do is I start them with a weight that they can pretty comfortably do 15 repetitions with, and keep on using that weight until they can do 3 or 4 sets up to 20 reps. Once they get to the point where they can do 20 repetitions with a weight, they've graduated. Now we increase the weights. Increase the weights how much? About 10% for the upper body, 20% for the lower body is a pretty safe increase, going up by 1 or 2 dumbbells or 1 or 2 plates. Now I test them with that weight, and let's say that the new weight they can only do 10 repetitions with. Perfect. Keep on training with that weight until you can do 12, until you can do 15, until you can do 18. When they get the 18 repetition range on their 3rd set or 4th set, graduate them up, go up the next weight. That way you're never doing a ridiculous amount of repetitions in the 25-30 repetition range, and you're never giving them so much load that they're risking damaging a joint in order to gain a few extra pounds of muscle mass. And then once they get to the point where they can do 15-18 repetitions with that weight, then we bump the weight up again. Now you're going to have good days and bad days. You're going to have days where you've got really good night's sleep and really good nutrition, and you're not overly sore, you're not stressed out from work, you may be a little bit stronger those days. Push yourself to the limit on those days. Push yourself on up and do a little bit more weight, and accept the fact that the next week you might not do that same training load again. But always kind of document everything, keep a mental notice of how much weight you're training with. Always try and push that load a little bit, more and more repetitions until you get to that 18-20 repetition range, and then up the weight. All right, if you got any questions, give us a call or hit us up on the website and we'll help you out. Thanks a lot.